All right, this is it. 21 parts of groundwork, and tonight we assemble the thing it was all for. AskMyDocs, your tuned RAG pipeline, your voice layer, your memory store, the OpenAI fallback, the monitoring, every piece you already built from parts 11 through 21 stitched into one real product running on your machine, answering questions about your documents. Nothing new gets invented tonight, we're just shipping. Before we build, take a second to look at the map. Phase 1 was the runtime, hardware, Ollama, the box itself. Phase 2 was the brain, your first local LLM, model files, the chat API. Phase 3 was the memory, embeddings, Chroma, chunking, and the painful lesson about why naive RAG fails. Phase 4 turned it into a product, open WebUI, tools, voice, the OpenAI-compatible API session state. AskMyDocs is just Phase 5, the assembly. And the assembly splits into two tiers. Lite is what you build tonight, about 80 lines. Wrapping Chroma, your ingestion pipeline, the tuned RAG from part 15, and a simple CLI that returns answers with citations. Pro is everything else you already wrote, the WebUI, memory, the OpenAI endpoint, voice logging. Layer those in when a real need shows up, not before. Ship Lite first. Here's the whole picture on one line. Documents flow into the chunker and embedder, land in Chroma, get pulled back through the tuned hybrid retrieval and reranker from part 15, and finally hit Ollama running Llama 3.18b, which returns a cited answer. That's the query path end to end. The Pro add-ons, memory, logging, the OpenAI-compatible API, bolt onto the same spine. No microservices, no new inventions, just integration. And here's how that spine sits on disk. One folder, 6 files for Lite, ingest, rag, ask, requirements, your docs, and the Chroma index. That's it. The Pro editions from parts 19, 20, and 21, API.py, memory.py, monitor.py, drop into the same folder. No nested SRC trees, no package gymnastics. If you can ls it, you can reason about it. First file, ingest.py. It walks your docs folder, reads each file, PDFs through PIPDF, everything else is plain text, chunks at 800 characters with 120 overlap, and upserts into Chroma using nomic embed text. The trick is that MD5 stable ID, same path, same chunk index, same ID, so rerunning is safe. Drop a new doc in, run it again, only the new chunks get embedded. Next up, rag.py, and this is the tune pipeline from part 15, the one that got us to 95% accuracy. Vector search and BM25 run in parallel, fuse through reciprocal rank fusion, then a cross-encoder re-ranks the top 60 down to the best 5. Those 5 get formatted with citation markers and handed to the model, which is prompted to cite by number. Nothing exotic, just the disciplined version of retrieval we already proved out weeks ago. And once rag.py works, you need a way to actually call it. That's ask.py, 12 lines of argparse around the pipeline. One required flag for the question, an optional, JSON switch for when you want to pipe output into JQ or another tool, and a default pretty print mode that shows the answer with sources underneath. That's the whole CLI. No framework, no plugins, just enough surface to make it feel like a real command. And this is the moment. Drop a folder of contracts into docs.doc here, run ingest.py once, 47 files, 2,000 chunks, a 12 megabyte index. Then ask a real question. When does my contract with NagyKft end? 11 seconds later, you get the date, the notice period, the renewal clause, and the exact PDFs they came from. No cloud, no data leak, no subscription. It works. Take a moment to see what actually fired in those 11 seconds. Your question got embedded by nomic embed text from part 11, then Chroma and BM25 ran in parallel and got fused with RRF. That's parts 12, 14, and 15. The mini-LM cross-encoder re-ranked down to the top 5. Llama 3.1 received prompt VE2 with numbered citations, exactly as we built it back in parts 5 and 7. 5 steps, every one of them already yours. Now, the Lite version is shipped, but you've got 4 optional upgrades waiting, each a single import and a few glue lines. Want a browser UI for non-technical users? Wrap rag behind a chat completions endpoint and point OpenWebUI at it. Want persistent memory so it remembers Laszlo runs Dargslan? Inject build dollar messages before the prompt. Add the voice loop for hands-free Q&A or wrap rag with log event to watch your P95 latency. Add only what you need when you need it. And when you're ready to let someone else hit it, deployment is already a solved problem. Cloudflare Tunnel from Part 16 still works. Uvicorn on port 8001, Cloudflare pointed at localhost, and you've got a public HTTPS URL in about 30 seconds. Wrap API.py with the bearer auth pattern from Part 19, share the key with one teammate, and they're querying your docs from their phone. No port forwarding, no DNS, no cloud bill. So stop for a second and actually look at what you have. 100% local. Every byte of every doc, every embedding, every token stays on your box. $0 per query forever. Around 95% answer accuracy on your own corpus, and it's yours. 18 months ago, this sentence required an OpenAI API key and a credit card. Tonight, it requires a Linux box and the work you already did. So let's lock in the 5 things worth carrying forward. 1. AskMyDocs is integration, not invention. Chroma from Part 12, the chunker from 14, the tuned rag from 15, Ollama since Part 5. You assembled, you didn't reinvent. 2. Lite is 80 lines. Ship that tonight, not the OpenWebUI plus memory plus monitoring fantasy. 3. Citations are what turn an answer into trust. 4. Pro features are layers, 5 to 30 lines each, added only when real usage demands them. And 5. You own this. No subscription cancels it. That's the whole point. And before we close, a cheat sheet. 12 things worth pinning somewhere you'll actually find them. Left column is the Lite path, your docs folder, ingest, JSON output, the top 20 to 5 rerank, the API.py plus OpenWebUI frontend, and Cloudflared when you want to share. Right column is the machinery, the Chroma index, the AskMyDocs query, chunk size 800, prompt v2 for citations, the memory layer, and a bearer token before anything goes public. Screenshot this one. So that's the capstone, shipped, but the journey doesn't end here. Part 23 picks up where you are right now. When do you reach for a cloud API like Anthropic or OpenAI for the hard problems your local model can't crack? When does fine-tuning your own model start to make sense? What about agent frameworks, and where does local AI actually fit on the frontier? The foundation is built. Now go see where it leads. Congratulations, you made it.